1902, Chesterfield, Idaho. A group of people enjoying a winter's day skating were suddenly terrorized by a hairy monster brandishing a wooden club. The witnesses said the creature stood about 8 feet tall. Later, 4-toed footprints were found that measured 22 inches long and 7 inches wide. Bigfoot indeed. No one was injured in the attack. (1912) New South Wales, Australia. A surveyor named Charles Harper was camping with several colleagues on the Currachbilly Mountain. One evening, as the men sat around their campfire, they became increasingly unnerved by the strange sounds they heard coming from the woods. To help allay their fears, they piled more wood on their fire. The increased light revealed that something unexpected had invaded their camp. A huge man-like animal stood erect, not 20 yards from the fire, growling, Harper later told a newspaper, and thumping his breast with his huge hand-like paws. Harper estimated that the creature stood about 5'8" to 5'10" tall and was covered with long, brownish-red hair, which shook with every quivering movement of his body. To say the least, the men were terrified. One even fainted. For several minutes, the creature continued to growl and make threatening gestures at the men, then turned and disappeared into the forest dark. (1924) Ape Canyon, Mount St. Helens, Washington. Fred Beck and several other prospectors were puzzled by the very large footprints they found in the canyon, until they encountered the beast that made them. They saw a large, ape-like creature peering from behind a tree, watching them. One of the miners leveled his rifle at the creature, shot and possibly grazed it in the head. It ran off out of sight. Later, another creature was seen by Beck. As it stood on the edge of a canyon wall, Beck shot it in the back. It fell irretrievably into the canyon. These acts of violence by the humans was not to go unavenged by the Sasquatch. That night, the miner's cabin was attacked by at least 2 of the primates. For 5 hours they pounded on the door and walls and hurled rocks on the roof in an attempt to break in. Fortunately, the windowless cabin built to withstand harsh winters kept the Sasquatch from entering. As dawn approached, the creatures abandoned their assault. When the miners finally ventured outside, they found numerous Bigfoot prints all around the cabin, and a strip of wood gouged out from between 2 logs. There is some evidence that this attack may have been a hoax, while others contend that it is true. (1924) Vancouver, British Columbia. Albert Ostman is one of the few people who have claimed to have been abducted by a Sasquatch. It happened while he was searching for a lost gold mine that he heard existed somewhere near Topa Inlet. He had heard from an Indian guide about the legendary Sasquatch, but didn't take them seriously until he discovered that something was stealing food from his campsite at night. Then one night, he was awakened by something picking him up in a sleeping bag. "I was half asleep, and at first did not remember where I was," Ostman said. "My first thought was, it must be a snowslide. Then, it felt like I was tossed on horseback, but I could feel whoever it was walking." After hours of being carried, Osman was finally dropped to the ground, where he heard a strange sounding chatter. It wasn't until dawn, however, that Osman made his way out of the sleeping bag. He was astonished to find himself in the company of 4 Sasquatch, what appeared to Osman to be a family, adult male and female, and a young male and female. He was able to provide detailed descriptions of the creatures, all of which, except for the young female, was enormous. Osman claimed to have spent 6 days in the company of the Sasquatch family. When he decided he had had enough, he fired his rifle into the air and made a run for it. (1928) Vancouver, British Columbia. A trapper named Mucolot Harry also claimed to have been kidnapped by Bigfoot. The powerfully built Indian of the Nootka tribe was plying his trade in one of his favorite hunting grounds around the Canoma River that autumn. Like Osman, Harry was picked up in his sleep, bedding and all, and carried for about 3 miles by a large Sasquatch. When set down, he found himself surrounded by about 20 of the creatures, both male and female, which he at first thought planned to eat him, as their campfire was littered with large bones. The creatures poked and prodded Harry, seemingly puzzled by his clothing. After a while, they appeared to grow tired of the human curiosity, and many left the camp. Seeing his chance, Harry made a run for it, running right past his own camp to his canoe on the river. He never went trapping in the woods again. (1957) Zhenjiang, China. On a May afternoon in the sparsely populated Chinese province, Zhu Fudi heard her young daughter screaming. The girl had been tending to the family's cattle, and Zhu Fudi hurried to see what had happened. She was startled to see her daughter struggling futilely in the powerful arms of a young Yeti, the Asian version of a Bigfoot. Zhu Fudi rushed at the Yeti with a stick of wood and began to beat the creature. It tried to escape through a paddy field, but was slowed by the thick mud. More women from the village joined Zhu Fudi in beating the creature to death. So terrified were they of this strange creature that they cut its carcass into pieces. Eerie cries of mourning were heard from the hills the next day. (1977) Wantage, New Jersey. New Jersey isn't the first place one thinks of when Sasquatch is mentioned, but this reported attack comes from a rural area of the state in the month of May. The Seitz family was disturbed by something that had broken into their barn and crushed several of their rabbits to death. The predator returned that night, and the Seitz saw it clearly, standing in their well-lit yard. It was big and hairy, Mrs. Seitz reported. It was brown. It looked like a human with a beard and a mustache. It had no neck. Looked like its head was just sitting on its shoulders. It had big red glowing eyes. When the Seitz dog attacked it, the creature effortlessly swatted it away, sending it flying about 20 feet. On subsequent nights, the creature was seen several more times by the Seitz. Hey everyone, Dismal Hero here, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, like and share the video if you enjoyed it. I'm always looking for new and exciting stories So if you have a scary encounter that has happened to you, please email it to me in the link in my description. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you back here again next time.